This is a presentation about the evolution of Lubuto Library Partners as a grassroots organization. Lubuto Library Partners is a nonprofit organization that has created a network of dynamic, free libraries to support African children and youth, particularly the most vulnerable, including those out of school, children with disabilities, young mothers, and those living on the street. The key insight that drove the creation of Lubuto is that public youth libraries can provide missing services that are critically needed by children and their communities. Lubuto started 18 years ago in Zambia after its founder learned how a library set up in a shipping container helped vulnerable children get into secondary school. The understanding was also driven by direct experience with the large numbers of children living in extremely vulnerable situations who were disconnected from their communities, being left by the wayside. Lubuto recognized that libraries could provide a way forward for them. The possibilities for libraries serving children and their communities were, at the same time, limitless and daunting. We had to learn directly from the young people what the greatest needs were, to develop tailored programming to meet them, and find a way to build an organization and finance its operations. 18 years on, Lubuto libraries have had over 1.9 million visits by more than 200,000 young Zambians, connected with over 72,000 Zambian children through outreach on the streets, schools, and in community-based organizations, clinics, and rural floodplains, trained over 500 teachers, students, and working librarians, and community volunteers to provide extensive and acceptable collections and library services to children, and provided important programming for over 25,000 young people. Along the way, we have learned and demonstrated that libraries can fill many critical gaps in the services that communities desperately need. This photo shows a group of young mothers celebrating their graduation from a hospitality training course they took through Lubuto's Family Literacy Program. A key population that had been left completely out was the street kids. We learned a lot about reaching and helping them through effective outreach. And when they began to come to their library, we learned that the children could themselves become the experts in the use of technology that was specifically designed for them, the one laptop per child laptops. The youth quickly discovered a simple programming app called eToys on the computers. And from them, we learned that we could use eToys and work with experienced Zambian teachers to create computer-based literacy lessons in the 7 major Zambian languages. We learned of the need for so many out-of-school young mothers to learn to write and read English in order to get a job, the genesis of Lubuto's Family Literacy Program. And when Lubuto began to offer the Family Literacy Program for young mothers, it became clear that their children needed care while the mothers learned. We had earlier learned about some traditional approaches to early childhood education from families in rural Nabukuyu. Then we learned more of the needs of community members in our outreach efforts. We began to develop a more formal approach to library-based early childhood education and early literacy programming, built collections of books for the very youngest, and now an early learning center is a feature of Lubuto libraries. A poster of the Zambian Sign Language alphabet in the library was an immediate magnet for deaf children, their families, and volunteers who offered regular sign language story times and met another critical need. We learned about the role that Lubuto's great books, films, and mentoring programs played in developing character strengths among the youth who flocked to the libraries. Academic research on the impact of this programming, supported by a Templeton World Charity Foundation grant, will help us and others to better understand its value. And we learned a great deal about the rising HIV infection rate of adolescent girls in our library's communities, and how our helping them to stay in secondary school, informed, tutored, and mentored, could keep them safe and healthy. Every single Lubuto program, from mentoring, art, drama, and story times, to fighting gender-based violence and child marriage, early childhood education, targeted outreach, and skills-based makerspaces, grew in response to ideas and needs of Zambia's young people. Lubuto's book collections, movies, and games are sought after and loved. The children who visit our libraries are passionate about learning the arts, science, history, geography, and culture. They love stories read aloud and in private, alone and with friends. In recognition of the importance of opening children's worlds with a wide range of the best literature for young people, Lubuto has been nominated 15 times for the Astrid Lindgren Memorial Award, known as the Nobel Prize of Children's Literature. And of course, all of this underscores the importance of creating welcoming and versatile physical spaces that can support a wide range of uses and a large number of users, and are permanent and enduring parts of the community for generations to come. Beloved hubs filled with life and learning, and that support the ongoing relationships with the community. Ties that can't be broken even by fire, disease, or financial challenges. Lubuto has faced all of those and more, and has proven resilient. Lubuto's physical infrastructure, the buildings, the book collections, computers, and other equipment, is supported by USAID's American Schools and Hospitals Abroad initiative. ASHA's mandate, which is distinct from other programs within USAID, is to focus on public diplomacy and sharing American values, ideas, technologies, and practices to increase mutual understanding and promote locally led development. ASHA does not provide operational support. Because Lubuto libraries are continuing community institutions, they can address long-term challenges that limited-term projects cannot. Project-tied grants require detailed planning, often years in advance of implementation, for the life of the project. There is no opportunity to learn and change course, to evolve and grow over years. Among the challenges addressed by Lubuto's locally led development is building and maintaining capacity of library workers over years as personnel changes and as we learn more effective ways to serve communities. Lubuto libraries are part of their communities, and we learned that many people are drawn to the libraries to volunteer and particularly enjoy interacting with children. Volunteer engagement is important in many ways, but perhaps especially in creating connections and ownership. Lubuto's sensitive and empathetic staff reflects the communities they serve and includes former street children. They forge strong, nuanced bonds with young people, particularly those from similarly marginalized circumstances. Through dedicated and ongoing relationships, they are uniquely equipped to address short and long-term challenges that international NGOs simply cannot. The name Lubuto, signifying light, enlightenment, and knowledge in the Bemba language, was provided by Lubuto's first advisory board member, cultural expert and advocate Mulenga Kapwepwe. It has the sense of light at the end of the tunnel that has been especially apt for the journey of learning and understanding that both the Lubuto organization and the youth it serves has followed together over the years. But it quickly became apparent that the initial name, Lubuto Library Project, did not fit. A project has a beginning and an end, and Lubuto libraries are a permanent and reliable presence in their communities. At the same time, Lubuto recognized that every advance comes through partnerships, and we chose the new name to reflect that. there are currently 5 Lubuto libraries. The first Lubuto library was built with the contributions of many individual donors, mostly from the library and children's book communities, who understood why it was important and needed. It was built at and with the Fountain of Hope Drop-In Center for Street Children in Lusaka that had been its inspiration and from which its early programming grew. While Lubuto was constantly learning and updating how the library operated, it was heavily used, and beloved programs had a significant positive impact on thousands of children. Lubuto also gained critical insights into the necessary qualities of the partners operating the libraries. In a hard-learned lesson, it became clear that it was necessary to decommission the Fountain of Hope Library after 10 years of operation. The impact of the Fountain of Hope Library convinced Dow Jones & Company to provide corporate responsibility funding to help build a new Lubuto library. Zambia's Ministry of Education guided the siting of the library and provided land on the grounds of Engwadati Basic School in Lusaka. Building on lessons learned, we reached out to vulnerable children, engaged in dialogue with the Engwadati community, built collections, and developed programming that addressed priority needs. In the process, Lubuto learned that the library needed to grow to meet the needs of the children in their community. Also needed were facilities that would allow Lubuto to show educators and other partners the value of professionally designed and delivered services and provide training for local professionals. USAID's ASHA stepped up with grants to support transforming the Engwadati Library to a model center, providing library services for urban children and youth, and for in-person and distance education, training, and administration of the Lubuto Library Network. Civic leaders saw the impact of Lubuto's work in Lusaka and described the extent of needs going unmet in rural communities. They supported Lubuto's dialogue with traditional leaders and local residents in Nabukuyu, a rural community in Zambia's southern province. The importance of this new and exciting challenge was recognized by Comic Relief in the UK and OSISA, who financed the construction of a Lubuto library in Nabukuyu. As at the Engwadati Library, subsequent plans for growth of the rural Mamuni Library were driven by local community needs, the responsibility to share the experience and understanding gained, and to offer training programs. Recognizing the value of this initiative, a USAID ASHA grant is supporting transforming the Mamuni Nabukuyu Library into a learning and demonstration center that will include a dormitory for participants in training programs, facilities for remote conferencing that include a Starlink internet link, early childhood education spaces, and makerspace enhancements designed to support skills development. As at the Engwadati Library, subsequent plans for growth of the rural Mamuni Library were driven by local community needs, the responsibility to share the experience and understanding gained, and to offer training programs. Recognizing the value of this initiative, a USAID ASHA grant is supporting transforming the Mamuni Nabukuyu Library into a learning and demonstration center that will include a dormitory for participants in training programs, facilities for remote conferencing that include a Starlink internet link, early childhood education spaces, and makerspace enhancements designed to support skills development. Lubuto's first library showed how to successfully work with users in their communities and how to use the experience gained to create collections and programs that would serve their needs. Lubuto then explored an avenue for extending the model's reach to new communities through partnerships with sustainable local organizations that shared its objectives. A solid partnership was developed with the Mtunzi Center, located in a peri-urban community outside of Lusaka. Since 2004, the Mtunzi Center has provided shelter, food, education, vocational training, sports and recreation, health services and counseling, and other programs in their community. Lubuto worked with Mtunzi to plan and train Mtunzi staff to operate a Lubuto library that was designed and built for them with support from USAID ASHA. Most recently, Lubuto continued to extend the reach of its model through a partnership with the St. Daniel Comboni Child Development Center. Like our other partners, Comboni is an NGO that focuses on the education of children and youth, giving special attention to girls through a variety of educational, recreational, and occupational programs. Lubuto developed plans and trained Comboni staff to operate a Lubuto library, constructed and stocked with support from ASHA. This new Lubuto library is the first to feature a special facility to support early childhood education. Looking back at what was learned and accomplished over the years, Lubuto has shown that its libraries have had a deep beneficial impact on young people in the communities in which they operate. With youth populations growing rapidly across Africa, the value of replicating Lubuto's approach seems clear. However, original plans for this approach to be widely adopted have not yet been realized. So, looking forward, Lubuto is focusing on ensuring that the foundations laid in Zambia will be sustained and, hopefully, eventually expanded. Sustaining Lubuto's operations will require continuing and expanding support from public and private organizations and individuals. In recent years, there has grown a strong consensus among philanthropic and international agencies, as well as African countries, that initiatives need to be locally driven, and they should be guided by people from the communities that are being served. The same principles hold true for library services. Though, as we've seen, Lubuto has been way ahead of the curve on locally led development, it is important to understand that its establishment and growth leveraged professional expertise that did not exist locally. While providing ongoing expert guidance in library systems and children's services, Lubuto's focus is on maintaining a strong local staff, mentoring strong managers to lead and work independently, and establishing strong financial management culture and oversight. And on strengthening Lubuto's local governance structure, engagement with the professional community in Africa, and capacity for mobilizing resources to support operations. The role of Lubuto's U.S.-based operations in support of its grassroots development has always been in mobilizing financial support, providing technical guidance and education in partnership with international professional experts, and analyzing and promoting understanding of Lubuto's work. Efforts will continue to strengthen this support, including exploring partnerships with academic institutions. Lubuto's people in Zambia, the U.S., and around the world will continue to join hands to keep our promise to help Zambia's and Africa's children to have a brighter future.